Alright everybody, so for this week's discussion post, the documentary I chose was Supersize Me by Morgan Spurlock. In this documentary, Spurlock goes on a 30-day journey to show the negative effects of eating fast food. In this particular case, Spurlock chose McDonald's. For 30 days straight, breakfast, lunch, dinner, any snack he wants to have, he has to eat McDonald's. In addition to that itself being a challenge, he had to supersize any meal that he was asked to. McDonald's previously had a menu option called Supersizing, which was essentially an extra large. After the documentary was released, they have since stopped doing the supersize option. In addition to supersizing, he had to not work out throughout the entire journey. Personally, I had heard of the documentary, but I had never seen it myself. Back in high school, it was mentioned in health class, so with this being an option, I wanted to take the opportunity myself to see what it was about. Throughout the entire documentary, there was a large number of statistics throughout. From the very beginning to the very end of the hour-and-a-half long documentary, it was completely loaded with statistics. The biggest one I kind of took from it, a few of them anyway, were that 60% of Americans are obese. In addition to that, 40% of Americans choose to eat out for their daily meal, whether it be going to a sit-down restaurant, going to a fast food chain like McDonald's, or ordering some kind of takeout, delivery. 40% of Americans are getting their daily food just through eating out. In this particular case, McDonald's, at the time this documentary was made, was feeding 45 million people per day worldwide. And that's just one chain. That doesn't include all the other big name chains or restaurants themselves. Just McDonald's is feeding 45 million people per day. With those kind of statistics, it brings up the topic of logos. Logos being the persuasion using statistics, facts, things like that. The documentary was completely loaded of them throughout. So in the way of the obesity statistics, the eating out statistics, there was also statistics about the health of Spurlock throughout the documentary, which in my opinion was actually where one of the big persuasive narratives was. While it's not one specific narrative, but kind of a series of narratives, I felt that the biggest kind of persuasive narrative throughout was the meetings he had with his doctors. He had 3 different doctors throughout the entire journey that he kept track of his health along the way. Those constant checkups with the doctors were the biggest persuasive, because throughout they showed the change in his blood work from initially having pretty good vitals, a good blood pressure, and his BMI changing, his blood work changing, his mood changing, his body composition changing. Throughout, that was what I felt was the biggest persuasive narrative. Those conversations with the doctors, and the doctors sitting for an interview saying how unhealthy it was, how this is a bad idea, and how Americans should not be doing this. The target audience is all of America. From the very young age of high school students all the way up to the average American citizen who eats fast food for whatever reason. Maybe they just want to go out and indulge themselves, or maybe that's the easy option they take. This documentary was meant to target the whole broad spectrum of audience, anyone who really indulges in fast food. The intent behind it was to show the negative impact of it and show that this is not a good idea, you shouldn't be going eating fast food on a regular basis, and shows the long-term effects of how unhealthy it can be. Personally, to me, it had a pretty big impact, seeing how I used to be. Personally, I used to be really unhealthy. I'd eat fast food pretty frequently, maybe a few times a week at my worst. So seeing this was kind of a really big change for me, getting to see what it was to where I'm at now. Overall, I really did enjoy the documentary, getting to see the change of how he started to where he ended, all the big things throughout, how he started off healthy and ended up unhealthy, and all the statistics in between. So this is my discussion post for the week, and I appreciate it. Have a good one.